everybody, it's Lon Simon, and the folks from Brinno lent us their really cool time-lapse video camera to check out. Now what's neat about this is that it does one thing, which is time-lapse video, and it does it really well. It doesn't have a whole bunch of useless features that they piled in here. It is focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is time-lapse video. So let's take a look at the hardware real quick. Pretty simple design. It's got a removable lens on the front here, so you can unscrew this and put in another CS mount lens. And I think those are lenses that are used a lot of the times on security systems. So if you can get a different lens, you can get different focal lengths and that sort of thing. This one is an f2 lens with a pretty wide angle on it. They also have a lower light, like a 1.2 available as well. And I think you can, of course, find a whole bunch of different CS lenses out there. This is the back of the unit where the control panel is. We'll step through that in a minute. On the side, you have an SD card slot for the SD card, and it actually stores quite a bit, even on a small card, because remember, it's taking shots over an interval of time, so it's not recording one big video file in a very short period of time. It's taking a lot of little, basically, frames and then adding them up over the night. So in the instance of like a night shot of stars going up over the sky, you're only looking at maybe a couple hundred megabytes. So those little cards will go a long way on there. You also have a expansion port over here, which looks like a headphone jack, but it's actually for a motion detector, so you can set it up as like a game camera to look for things that are moving around in your yard. And they also have a little stop motion shutter, so if you want to do stop motion cartoons, you can use this with that. Basically, you set the camera up, push the shutter, it'll do one frame, and then build that video file every time you push the shutter down. So that's kind of a neat feature to have. And there's a USB port also for connecting it to your computer to transfer data. You also have it run on 4 AA batteries, so there's no proprietary lithium-ion battery or anything else like that. Alkalines go in here, and they last a really long time. I've had this probably in use for about 24 hours of straight shooting. And again, it's not shooting 24 hours straight, it's only shooting at the interval, but I left it out for 2 nights. I had it outside a bunch of afternoon or two. So it's functional, and it will last pretty much for the length of your project. You also have a tripod mount as well. Now, if you want to set it out in an area where there might be some weather, they have an optional weatherproof housing that you can get for it. And this works pretty well, except you lose the ability to adjust the lens. So the lens adjusts here, it doesn't in the enclosure. So you'll have to kind of maybe put it on a tripod. There's a tripod mount at the bottom, or just prop it up against something. But it does protect it against the elements. I had it get rained on when I was doing an overnight shot, and it held up pretty well. And it also has the ability to keep those accessories plugged in, so you can plug in that motion detector and some other stuff while it's still using the plastic case. So let's take a look at how you configure the camera, and then we'll get to some footage, because I'm sure you'll want to see that. So basically, you switch it on, and what it does, I'm not going to step through all the features, but what I like to do is start with the setting for the scene. So we're just going to skip through all this stuff. There's a lot of little minute things that you can set on the camera, but scene is the most important, because this kind of is the top of the hierarchy for all the other configurations. So you can have it set for daylight, twilight, night, moon. So if you want to capture the moon moving through the sky, you can do that with the moon mode, or you can do stars. And what stars does is it does like a very long exposure. So it'll do enough to capture, and I have some sample footage which you'll see. It'll capture the stars moving across the sky at night. It's really pretty cool. So I'm just going to set it to that, because I want to show you what happens when you do that. So I'm going to exit out of the settings here and go back to where we are set up. Now, right now it says custom. If I go to time here, I can adjust the interval in which it will shoot pictures. So when you're in star mode, 20 seconds is pretty much the fastest you'll get. So what it's going to do is shoot 1 frame of video every 20 seconds. Now, a good smooth video is 30 frames per second. You do have the option to set it at, I think, 15, 20, and 30 frames per second. I recommend 30 because that'll give you the smoothest motion. You're just going to have to leave this thing out longer to get that, because you have to build the video 1 frame at a time, and that will take a while to get going. Now, when you're ready to start shooting, you get a little preview image here. The preview isn't all that good. It's kind of jumpy, as you can see, and it's really overexposed here in my studio, but I found it really hard to figure out what you're focusing on. So, I wouldn't really rely on this too much for the end result. You may have to do a little bit of trial and error initially, maybe do a couple of test shots to make sure you have it exactly where you want it. Of course, you can see where it's pointing, but it doesn't have a lot of resolution to the preview window on the screen. But then you push the button and it will start. And basically, you just put it down, maybe you put it in its enclosure and just leave it, walk away for the night. And then when you're done, you get this. And this is really cool. So I did a shot of the sun setting and the stars coming out. I have this in star mode, and this is 1 frame every 20 seconds. And what's really neat about it is that first of all, you can see kind of the Milky Way going by here, which is really cool. So it's able to capture some decent imagery. I'm actually curious to see what a faster lens might be able to do. Now I sped this up a little bit, put a little cut in there, because now you can see the moon rising. And because I had it in star mode, the moon is a little bit brighter than it might be. If I had it in moon mode, it would be a little less bright, I guess. But as the moon is going by here, you'll see it slowly work its way up the frame. And now the sun is coming up. And what was nice is that even though it was doing long exposures at night, it knew not to do that during the day. So I didn't get this washed out, white blob after everything was done. I actually got something that was usable at the end. So that is the Brinno TLC200 Pro, and I've been having a lot of fun with this. I even found a puddle on my porch and watched it evaporate with this thing. Everything becomes more interesting when it's time-lapsed. So it's really neat to see this, because this is one of these things where, I've seen this feature on other cameras before, and, it's never perfect because it's really not the focus of that device. It's just something that the manufacturer piled on. This one only does time-lapse, and it does it pretty well. In fact, what's nice about it is that you can set it up and you'll get something usable out of it every time. It may not be perfect the entire video, but you're going to have something usable because it is thinking about it through its software, how to best get that shot done for you. And I think that's kind of a neat thing. I think we're going to see more and more cameras come out that focus on individual features like this. I think high-speed cameras are probably the next thing we'll see. So really cool that we've got something like this. I think if you're looking to do time lapses in a way that you can't mess them up, this is definitely something to look at. So I'm going to keep playing with this thing before I have to give it back at the end of the week, but I'm impressed with it. And this is the TLC200 from Brinno, and this is Lon. Thanks for watching.